If I die, I have no regrets, but I'm not scared to die because I've made my peace. God gave me Parkinson's disease to show me I'm just a man. I don't know about you, Wally, but two of the best interviews I ever had came unexpectedly, weren't planned. And they happened both in Las Vegas 42 years ago. Mike Tyson had just won the world title, and I knew he was going to be carrying the bucket for his great friend, Edwin Rosario, in his world title fight with Julio Cesar Chavez. I think it was super featherweight, lightweight, I think they were fighting out. And I said to my boss, let me go and do this, a great fight, but also I'll sure to get an interview with Mike Tyson, who had just won the title a few months before. So off I went to Vegas, and it was a great fight. Chavez stopped Rosario in, I think it was the 12th of the 15 rounds, and Tyson had carried the bucket. And I'm standing on the following morning, on Sunday morning, at the newsstand at the Hilton Hotel. You know Vegas, it's the one off the strip. I'm standing there waiting to go into breakfast, minding my own business, and who should come along but Ali. And of course, it was his last fight in the Bahamas the year before. And he just naturally came over to have a chat. And he'd just been made public that he was suffering from Parkinson's syndrome. So, as you would, I said, Ali, I'm very sorry to hear that you've got Parkinson's. And then he started talking. Now, it was 42 years ago, and to make sure I give you all the words he said, I looked it up in my cuttings, and so I'm going to read it. As I'm standing there, he said, if I die, I have no regrets. I have an obligation to keep myself healthy, but the final decision is my maker's. I've tried to live a good life and do the right thing, but I'm not scared to die because I've made my peace. And he goes on, God gave me Parkinson's disease to show me I'm just a man like everyone else. To show me I've got human frailties like everyone else, because that's all I am, a man. Now, I was absolutely taken aback by that. Now, don't forget, I was 42 years younger, and I remembered every word. And before going into breakfast, I ran up to my room, and I sat at my typewriter, and I typed out everything I remembered. And that was the biggest scoop I ever got, and it came just out the blue. And I was very moved by it, obviously, having covered 10 years of last 10 years of his life, from 71 to 81. Those 10 years going to places like Manila and Vegas, New York, and Zaire. And what is amazing, about him, he never knew any of our names, British names, except for two men, Reg Guttridge and Harry Carter, because they interviewed him on television. Yeah. But he knew who we were, and he would spontaneously come over and talk to us. And always, wherever I met him, he always asked me a question. How's Henry Cooper doing?
Really?
Because he had great respect for Henry. As you know, very nearly knocked him out at Wembley in '63.
Henry's hammer.
Yeah. So that was that interview. And then, believe it or not, I got another amazing interview with Tyson out of the blue. Tyson was we were all staying at the Hilton, and I was walking in the coffee shop, and Tyson was sitting having coffee with a friend of his from Catskill, a white guy, and he just beckoned me over. So I sat down, chatting away about the Rosario fight. And then we got round to talking of other things, And he said, out the blue, I'm having terrible trouble with my girlfriend, words to that effect. I said, really? And that was Robin Givens, who was then TV actress. I said, what do you mean you're having trouble with her? He said, well, she wants to get married. And I'm 21. He said, I don't want to get married, I want to play the field. So we're always rowing, he said. I said, really? He said, yeah. He said, you know, and she hurts me. And I'd met Robin Givens.
Tiny little thing.
And I said, come on, Mike, don't give me all that BS, she hurts you. You're an heavyweight champion of the world. She's 120, I had to put it in American money, couldn't say 8 stone. I said, she's 112 pounds soaking wet. He said, no, she hurts me. I said, how can she hurt you? He said, she kicks me in the balls. Oh, that would hurt anybody, even Mike Tyson. So that was that interview. And of course, I wrote all this, you know, the next day. He also told me that when they were having a row one day, he was in his Rolls Royce and she was driving one of his Mercedes behind him. They were going down a slip road on to a motorway. They don't call it motorways in America. And she had a row with him. She was angry and she rammed him.
In the car?
Rammed the car up in the Rolls. Caused $10,000 worth of damage. So those 2 interviews that I had with Ali and Tyson, 2 great interviews that came completely out the blue.
2 fabulous fighters that are rightly remembered for their fighting skills, but both probably did make mistakes in their personal lives that they paid for at the time. But do you think it's really good now that the memory of them, not just for your generation, but for our generation, is the stuff they did and the people that they become and the errors that they made that they paid for, they're not overshadowing all the good that they did and the good people that they probably were?
Well, you know, it's 2 completely different characters, Ali and Tyson, but in their day, the most famous people on earth. I mean, Tyson had so many headlines over bad behaviour. Probably Ali got headlines, but not so much about his bad behaviour. Although, you know, when it came to the number of girlfriends he had, Ali had no peer. I can tell one story that Joe Bugner told me when he was training. He went to New York to train with Ali when he was a young, up-and-coming heavyweight. And they were staying at a hotel called Lowe's Midtown. And Joe used to have breakfast with Ali at the coffee shop, which was on street level. And girls would look through the window at Ali having breakfast. And Joe swore to me that coming back from doing road work, between road work, breakfast and lunch, 4 different women found their way into Ali's room. I mean, they used to call them foxes. And when he was in London, years and years later, on one of his promotional trips, staying at them, it's not there anymore, it's a different name now, the Piccadilly Hotel. They reckoned the carpet leading to his room was threadbare, but the number of women that were in and out of there in the week he stayed. I mean, there was no one, I mean, can you imagine? He was so handsome, such personality, he had no trouble with the foxes, as he called them.
It's amazing he managed to do 15 rounds so comfortably all the time.
Well, exactly.